We have finally reached the place this semester where our pace will slow significantly. We have relatively quickly traversed 1700 plus years of history and have seen significant growth and the spread of Christianity during that time. However, with the emergence of William Carey and an organized Protestant mission presence, the last few centuries will look significantly different than the first 1800 in terms of how and where the spread of Christianity will take place. Remembering where we have been always gives us a better idea, a better vision of where we are. So remember that the first 300 years of the church were characterized by what I would call slow and steady wins the race. Persecution at varying degrees was often a reality, and yet Christianity continued to advance into the hearts and minds of people. There was no government support, and yet Christianity did just fine for itself. Changed people shared the good news with others in small and seemingly inconsequential ways. Little by little, Christians salted and lit up the world around them. Growth was steady in both quantity and quality. After Constantine's conversion, the next 1,000 years were very different than the first 300. Since Christianity was at this time supported by the government, it grew by leaps and bounds. As the empires, both east and west, spread, so too did Christianity. This was the age of mass conversions, power encounters, and converting while staring down the wrong end of a sword. Numerical growth was tremendous, since entire communities throughout Europe were baptized and pledged their allegiance to the Catholic Church. But the quality of such conversions is easy to question. As Catholic nations took to the seas in the 1500s and 1600s, the Church spread in conjunction with colonization efforts. While the way in which the Spanish conquistadors forced Catholicism on the native people leaves us rightly concerned, Christian seeds were planted that have resulted in a much different type of harvest in those areas in the 20th and 21st centuries. And as we saw in Area 4, Protestants finally began to be involved in overseas work in the 1700s. The Pietists and the Moravians led the charge into the mission field, albeit at relatively small numbers. Remembering all these stories and factors helps us understand the passion with which Protestants became involved in missions in the 1800s. By this time, religious wars had run their course throughout Europe, and with a greater time of peace, some Protestant theology developed in such a way that missionary work became part of the equation. The age of exploration had opened up the world to Europe, and Protestants increasingly became excited about opportunities to take the gospel to unreached regions. And at this time, knowledge of Catholic advances increasingly spurred Protestants to keep up. Can't have the Catholics beating us. I think all of these factors, and some other factors that you will read about in the opening of your reading for this week, some other factors influenced William Carey to some degree as he began contemplating the role of Christians in taking the gospel to unreached peoples. And the spark that begins with him will turn into a healthy, roaring blaze of Protestant missionary activity by the end of the 1800s.